So what we've historically done is poured into our community and really allowed the young people that we engage with to help expand that opportunity. So we try to put as much resources as possible really on focusing on cultivating that in a number of different ways. Obviously online, through story, making sure that we have that face-to-face interaction. So we have 100 interns about 8 months out of the year that are basically touring throughout North America that are staying in their homes, and these people are housing them, and they're talking about the conflict, and it's that personal interaction that we've really leveraged in the past. Now, we as an organization have to go beyond that and have to start to do what other a little bit more mature organizations are doing.
Hi, I'm Lizelle Van Riper from Kickstart International. And I heard earlier about the value of partnering with peer NGOs to apply for co-funding. And I'd like to hear from anyone on the panel about how you went about doing this. Can one of you talk us through how you actually identified the peer NGO and what grant you might have successfully secured together and from what kind of funder? Because we are familiar with working with implementing organizations to try to get funding. But as far as a peer NGO, that's something I'd be interested in hearing more about and how you secured co-funding. Thank you.
What was unique about this situation was that the Siegel Foundation actually recognized that our two programs could mesh very well and build off of each other. And so they kind of put us in touch, and we started discussing. Educate has alumni who are social entrepreneurs. We have a model for social entrepreneurs to give back to rural communities with the microgrant and facilitation process. And so we got together, worked on a joint proposal together for a trial period of 4 microgrants. It went extremely well, and I think this year now we are going to look for other funding and have already had some funding that will go into growth of that partnership.
I think what we depend on is really very much a grassroots approach to it. So rather than trying to force 2 partners together and make something happen that may not be a natural fit, especially at my level as a fundraiser, it doesn't make sense. I usually I look to my program colleagues in a particular area of the world to sort of suggest that we've got a partnership that's already sort of blossoming, and then I take that information and try and coordinate with that organization, and then try and raise money jointly. Actually, I want to talk to you a little bit about this.
I work with an organization that combines most of what your panel represents. We take a holistic approach where we work with children but also work with grandmothers. My question to you is, how do you go about fundraising but also stay true to your mission? In other words, how do you keep people you work with on the ground interested and feeling from what they need, while you are also going after fundraising and getting money to support them?
And I think what we've done is built into our model and into our organization accountability systems where the process that the community has to go through to do their microgrant ensures that the project is run by the community and not driven by donor desires or by donors. And it's actually how we're trying, and even within our model, traditional aid is expert-led and community-supported, and we're switching that to be community-led and expert-supported. And I think that once we build relationships with foundations and with partner organizations, they see value in that and are much more supportive of us doing our work.
I think, like everyone else here, the important thing for us has been communication and education. If we can bring people closer to the work, show them firsthand, usually someone who is going to give a gift upwards of 6-7 figures has the resources to actually come over. In many cases, they'll take their family over to one of our program sites and see what is happening, see what is working, and the impact it is having. It takes very little discussion after that about other ideas to come to some kind of agreement on whether to support or not. It continues to be a challenge, and particularly the way we raise money, and so much of it comes from public sector and corporations. These are not unrestricted funds, so much of what we get in the coming year, we expect that we will have a real challenge coming up with unrestricted dollars. So our real good proactive communication strategy around that to educate people on a mass scale about what is working, how we're moving the needle, and changing changing the discourse, as I said earlier, about what's possible. I find the value in having a good-sized board. In fact, we're in the process now of doubling the size of our board. Not only people who will bring additional funds in and contribute in a meaningful way financially, but the real value is always going to be in being a connector, as Sasha said, to help with those networks. And when we do have these sort of mini campaigns or other initiatives, that they are willing to staff those themselves and with our support, and to take responsibility to own a piece of the budget that they are willing to fund. So it's something we're looking at. We're close to doubling our board. Actually, it's taken much less time than I had anticipated. In about 6 months, we had an additional 21 new trustees, people who we knew well, people who were on committees for us for the most part, but not all there for their money. There's a lot of technical expertise that is being brought to the table as well. But we will continue to grow our board over the coming year or so, and we'll hopefully have enough room to bring in new people as we go along.
We have a very smart, strategic, small board, and we are small so we can operate very quickly and make decisions, and we really use our advisory board to help us fundraise. So a lot of our big names are on the advisory board, and we reach out to them once, twice, not too much, but the board we really utilize as much as possible for strategic decisions.
Let's move on to the question, the celebrity part of the question, which is how useful have celebrities been to what you're doing, and is it worth the effort, especially in terms of fundraising and revenue? So, Chris, I'll point out to you. Sure. I think there are people.
Yeah, we've recently got a lot of press about utilizing celebrities, but it's actually our thought internally that most of the time when we engage celebrities, it's a waste of time. And when we engage celebrities, it has to come from an authentic place, and they have to be knowledgeable on the actual topic to actually have the type of impact that we need it to have. Otherwise, because for us, we see ourselves as a small organization. We could focus our time on so many different things, and our time is more valuable than spending a week in LA or with those individuals, trying to cultivate it so that they would then tweet it out or something. So we haven't had as much success as you would traditionally think over the 9 or 10 years that we've been around.
How you doing? Jeffrey Wright. With Tyler Peace Foundation, we've been focused on Sierra Leone, and I can say as someone who spent the last 20 or so years working in film and theater that I would agree that too much engagement with celebrities is pretty much a waste of time. One of the things that we've observed in Sierra Leone, we've been active there about 10 years now, is that there's a separation, at times an adversarial relationship between NGO community and private sector community. And I wonder if you guys could speak to successes in strategizing around fundraising with the private sector that's active in your areas of operation, not only for fundraising, but also to further your social development ends as well.
The way that we found them, actually they found us. So we put a film out, and I got a call from Howard Schultz in 2009 saying, I just watched your film and I want to talk to you about what you're doing, which was totally crazy to me because he had never met me, nor did he know our organization. Then subsequently I got a letter in the mail that Howard had written to the president of Rwanda asking if he knew about the issue of children born from rapes, and had written to Bono a letter about Foundation Rwanda as well, asking if the Red campaign that he was funding, 5 cents of every cup of coffee during the holiday season, could go to Foundation Rwanda. So this is again the power of putting out high quality materials and seeing who responds. We did not seek Starbucks, they found us, and it's been a pretty remarkable relationship. They're the first cultivators of coffee with Costco post 1994. So they're very interested in Rwanda, and the partnership between them I hope will move in a very interesting direction. We just had a strategic review, so it could grow. The idea for us basically is to utilize them in a variety of different ways. So, we've asked if we could put this coloring book in Starbucks, if a percentage of the proceeds could go back to Foundation Rwanda. There are a number of different things that we are trying to do and work on with them. But again, I think the challenges of working with large corporations, they have a lot going on. You're not their first priority. They fund a lot of different things. So you really have to stay on the radar and be innovative and smart and continue to reinvent yourself.
And it's a time thing, and the return hasn't necessarily been, for us, as impactful as the time that we've spent. But again, I think it comes down to the partner, the focus of the relationship, and the clarity of the goals that you establish with that partner. It's about being able to cultivate the information that you're generating by talking to everybody.
Great. Court.
If you don't ask, you won't get.
Sounds good. And Jerry?
In terms of your communication strategy, test everything you do, find out what works, and let that tell you what to do.
I think we learned a lot about volunteers. Rather than try to raise money yourself, get other people to raise money for you. And I think technology is making that easier. I think we've heard some great examples about that, whether it's a larger organization like Habitat for Humanity or Invisible Children, or even a small organization like Sasha described. Second of all is forming partnerships, figuring out whether it's other NGOs and collaborative grants or partnerships with agencies or the U.S. Embassy. There may be interesting ways of creating funding partnerships that become useful. Third is leverage creativity and develop your messaging. Make sure it's understandable and simple, but use that in a way to engage people and try to bring people closer to your work. And then infrastructure. We've heard a lot about the capacity for your own organization, and I think Andy will speak to this after the break. But to the extent that you can invest in the databases, some of which are free, or the systems, be thoughtful about what the support is you're doing, and don't spend time with celebrities and corporations.